I just realized we haven't. I mean, I haven't said anything, so I'm guessing you haven't worked at all on like trying to make it so that our voice doesn't show up in the waiting thing.
Yeah, I would have no idea how. That's going presently. I called you.
Oh, it's already started?
Yes.
You don't know what I might be doing?
I do not. You're not on voice. You're not on video call, so. But I have to feed the cats, and I will be back in a moment. I just wanted to start at noon. In the unlikely event anybody's here, will be a moment. Koki can send stuff as usual to places if he so desires. But I will be back.
Start?
Get rid of the music, because it's hard to think with that. I'm still bad at figuring out what's where. Working. Interesting. Oh, now it's
Changing to another scene.
So that's open up and everything. Okay, so we begin with that. Oh, I guess as per usual, I am silent or Okakisa, and this is the a review summary and beginning analysis of the episode The Weaker Sex from Sliders. Not sure exactly how much we're going to get through because this was an extremely political one by virtue of the fact that Arturo is running for political office. As well
Hey,
as
real quick, could you lower my volume on the thing? Because I'm coming off as so much louder than you right now.
Okie doke. Let's see if I know how to do that. Nope, that's me, that's you. I do not know how to do that.
Like, in OBS, there's a thing that's like the the mic sensitivity, and there's also one on the audio coming from your computer.
Mm, hello, Eric from Sliding Through Dimensions. Desktop audio. Let's try this. We're still not good at actually setting things up, but slowly getting better, I believe.
All right. I could also just speak softer, but let's move on.
Yep. Where did I put my notes? There we are. So this world takes 6.5 weeks. There's the amount of time that they're on there. It's, I believe, one of the longest stays in the series, if not the longest. The only other one I can think is just like an aside world in season 4, when they're searching for the Cro-Mags, but it's mostly an aside. Rembrandt is begun to come to. I don't want to say come to his senses. He's come to accept the fact that he just has to deal with this, and so he's begun by just like, I'm just gonna keep annoying you, cue ball, until we get even. When that happens, when I say it is. Um, Arturo's like, the pretzels here will determine if they are home because they will be really tasty, and this goes across much of the series, but it kind of I've always found it weird. There's got to be a nearly infinite number of things that are identical. You can't just use, oh, these are really tasty, so we're home. And they keep being proven that that's the case, such as in this one.
It's a metric. It just can't be the only one.
Um,
Granted, I wouldn't want to be in a world that's almost identical, except the pretzels are kind of bleh.
uh, it could be that he goes to the pretzel stand, gets a pretzel, and the pretzels are kind of off, but the guy was just having an off day during that batch. Um, then so they're watching the news, or the guy in the stand is watching the news, and it's like, the president's on. And Clinton, it's like, yeah, it's Clinton, and then it's Hillary Clinton. Ah, reversal.
By the way, I just want to comment real quick that despite the gender reversal of everything else, it is the same stand with the same guy's name and the same guy working there. You know, in what, like, these sort of independent vendors in a very, I guess, male-coded sort of occupation. And I just find that kind of funny because the occupations are reversed in every other respect except for the pretzel guy. It is his destiny.
Just like Pavel. um, so I'm going to mostly begin by doing the summary, but there will be interjections. There's a lot of sexism discussion that happens through the things, but so I want to try to cordon that off toward the latter portion, which could be next week. We're not exactly sure how far we're going to get through due to, once again, I'm still dealing with medical stuff, so I've got a physical therapy appointment in about an hour. So, continuing. Pretty much everybody in positions of power in this world are, and I forgot to start this, women, U.S. Congress, Board of Directors, pretty much everybody from the Fortune 500s. Even the Pope is a woman. Unfortunately, I cannot remember the Pope's name, but I don't think that's really relevant. The vendor, however, is a guy. Customer service tends to be a pink collar job. Uh, Independent vendors outside tend to be men in our world. I think this was a thing Koki was talking about. That are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay. I didn't know if you had anything else about that. Arturo says gender discrimination's no laughing matter, regardless of who has the upper hand. And then Wade interjects, "Listen to Professor Equal Opportunity all of a sudden." They don't. I don't know if they really got too much into gender politics in the previous episodes, so I'm assuming this is relating to things off screen, or maybe she's just inferring what she thinks his thoughts are on this based on his other political statements, such as not liking hippies and
So,
free love and etc.
while Arturo hasn't said anything to dismiss Wade because she is a woman, there have been times that Arturo seems particularly dismissive of Wade, and so Wade may have perceived that as sexism. That's an inference on my part, though.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to
And
find.
to be
Yep.
fair, we have reason to believe it was sexism. But
Yeah.
yeah, go on.
They're trying to get jobs. Rembrandt has the most immediately profitable one. I don't know what the phrase would be. It's not really panhandling, but like street performer, basically, just out there
Mhm.
singing. He's singing for a really long time. It's over 7 hours, and it's been at least 7 hours, and then he sings some more. So that I don't know the effect that would have on a person's voice, even a professional, but probably nothing good.
It also occurred to me that street beggars also tend to be male and street performers. So, I don't know if it would have been seen as novel in this world, but we kind of do see exactly why it's not a very common female profession in our world, in that, like, the past three Rembrandt arcs, he has a weird sexual adventure because of it. But yes, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. Cuba doesn't get a job at the beginning, but he does get one later on, as we'll get into. He gets off the phone and he says that the only jobs he's qualified for are being a nanny or a nude model. Um, Wade did get a job for computer installations for the mayor. I'm not sure exactly how background checks work during this time period. It's a little too niche for me to uh, try to actually research. Um, just seems like there would be any if you're working at that level for the mayor's re-election campaign.
Hmm.
So maybe there is another Wade on this world, but then it would be a little odd that you would get the job because she'd be like, "No, I wasn't trying to apply." But
Yeah, their otherworld counterparts just aren't a thing in this world, which is weird because considering far back the timeline deviated, the fact that Hillary Clinton exists in this world somehow works out. It's always kind of funny and arbitrary as to whether or not the same people live in a different timeline.
and if they have the same level of importance, such as Clinton, a Clinton still being the president and going down that exact same path, basically. Except in the, but yeah, he gets fresh fruit and a cash advance. I'm not sure why, but it's kind of just them saying, "Hey, you now have a good way to get food and pay for your room." She also says that she can get jobs for the guys, which is means a lot more coming from her in this society than it would somebody else.
A very found family, alternate family structure vibe going this episode. I mean, they always do, but
It really peaks this one, except for Rembrandt, who, as you noted, once again just goes off and does his own thing for the most part.
actually, I suppose this has been my theme lately, where I'm like, but how is it gay? But, let's go on.
um, our Turo thinks he's acting chivalrous and proposes himself indirectly as like he doesn't use the words, but kind of like a real man, um, because he's holding the door to the elevator for the mayor, and like I'll push the button for you, and she's dismissive of him, like this person who's beneath me. What are they doing? What do they want? He ends up hitting on her, and it's a little awkward due to the fact that doesn't realize who his employer is going to be, and that's the person he's hitting on. So, kind of
I
obviously
suppose
adds to why he doesn't get the job he was applying for.
I suppose this is another aspect in how the gender reversal is a little inconsistent because I mean, if a woman's holding a door for a man, it comes off as a little weird, but like even if it's like an unattractive
Wait, I think you cut off.
um okay, testing one, two,
Yep,
three.
you were back.
Okay. I was gonna say this is another instance where they're a little inconsistent on how the gender role reversal works, right? Like,
Yes.
because we do have reason to believe that men are considered more sexually desirable in this timeline. And in our world, even if it's not a very attractive woman at all, like just the fact that a woman would go out of her way to pay attention to a man is just sort of like, oh, hey, that's really. Granted, I've never lived as a woman, so I'm only imagining how I would react as a man and how I think other men would react. But the point is, while he was treated as both doing something weird for this culture, which, yes, he was, but also that he is a man and therefore undesirable. You know,
Yeah.
though, to be honest, the way he's like, chivalry's not dead, even in our world, that is a really weird and obnoxious thing to say. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to poke holes at everything, but yes, the writers aren't really thinking about how they don't think of like the like sandwich of how sexism works in our world. They're clearly highlighting some bits and not others. I don't know why sexism is a sandwich. Cause kitchen, I guess.
It's also I don't not additionally amusing. I don't know the phrase I'm looking for, but so whatever. The If I remember correctly, I think the writers for this episode are themselves women, which adds to the I don't know interesting nature, but there's also difficulty in trying to flip the script if you're not including like both sides of the gender spectrum on the because like how men interact with women is just as important in flipping the gender script as how women interact with men.
Yeah, I'm also thinking the chivalry is not dead thing. While Arturo has been flirtatious with women in other worlds, maybe not in the show yet, but I know later on. This kind of male chauvinism isn't really typical of Arturo. So, if anything, it seems like they just wanted to include it to say, "Oh, hey, sexism is bad and men are kind of stupid for doing it. And don't get me wrong, I think like this kind of girl power stuff, it has a place. It's educational. I'm just saying,
Yeah, yeah,
it's not terribly thought out.
yeah. Um, as it's rare. Danny Eisenbach is just a journalist. For a men's periodical. He says it's usually like fluff pieces and whatnot, but sometimes they do serious journalism, and so that's what he's doing at the mayor's office. He also scouts the professor as opposition campaign for new mayor of San Francisco. Um, Brings him to dinner, and the professor ultimately ends up agreeing and starts as a political adventure. Um,
Yeah, that's where it gets cringe. Let's
yeah.
keep going though.
They say women are men's equals, or yeah, Arturo says women are men's equals, and we couldn't do without them. I'm not sure how this would be viewed in such a society. Whether it would be. Do you have any thoughts? I'm not sure how I want to phrase my thought
Okay,
there.
so he says women are equals, but then he talks about all of the bad parts about women. And don't get me wrong, that obviously, if one side has too much power, you would highlight why they're a poor fit. But this is sort of like a way people like to redress sexism and male chauvinism, where they say we're equals, but we have different spheres of excellence, right? That we're equal in value, but we're different. That men are better at certain things and women are better at certain things. And a lot of the people saying this will definitely be in favor of subjugating women, that they're like housewives and mothers, which are valuable jobs, don't get me wrong, and jobs that we should probably appreciate more in our society, but they are also jobs that keep power out of the hands of women. And so this sort of like, I'm not sexist, but which Arturo's kind of building upon, one, I'm sure it would exist in this society, and also you know it's kind of cringe.
Yeah, I was thinking like, cause in our world, saying women are men's equals, kind of comes off as like uplifting of women, but in this society, is it like
Yeah, you're right, it's kind of weird to do it like that. I mean, that might be part of why it's so novel, right? Imagine if we had the suffragette in our world where it's like, yeah, we think men deserve the right to vote too. It'd be silly, but it's also a good way to sort of hook people in. And the fact that Arturo does come from worlds that the opposite sort of power dynamic exists.
does just
Granted,
have the script flipped already?
yeah, though I guess now's as good a time as any to point out, actually men in this world have it worse than women do in our world on a number of points, but that's gonna come up later.
Yeah. Um, a a group of, I believe they call themselves masculinists, which I believe is a significantly cooler name than men's rights activist or meninists, which is what terms were in our world when this was ish, a concept to being brought up. I don't know, a decade, 15 years ago, something like that. But that's
If
that's
I
an aside.
can
What?
do a complete aside that's only nominally related to this,
Okay.
in Spanish, where we have the feminine equivalent to, or the masculine equivalent to feminism, machismo, is just another word for sexism. So, that wouldn't work in Spanish. That's all I'm. That's all. It's like a complete aside. It's a masculinist machismo. I mean, machismo also has a slightly different meaning in English, but yeah, this is a tangent.
That's fine. Um, so they're calling for gender equality in this world, which is, identical to feminism in our world. There's likely weirdos in this movement, but there's likely weirdos in any movement. They're sick of the glass ceiling in pretty much all fields in life, which again, just perfectly goes in line with uh, the understandings of it as it relates to our world. Um, I don't think I need to explain what a glass ceiling is, but just in case, it's like women, or in this case men, um, only have like a certain level they can go up to before there's a general understanding that they can't go higher because they're incapable or not qualified for some reason. I'm doing a very simplified of it, but uh, Arturo calls the political system present as onerous as that of communist China, because men are oppressed. I'm not sure the comparison works. It's probably just hyperbole, but um,
Actually, it just occurred to me. Well, Arturo, he does this a lot. He's making a huge assumption about this world. I mean, granted, no one's like, "What do you mean, communist China?" But when you think about what were called the bear stick men and how unmarried men played such a huge role in the rise of communism in China, uh, we have no reason to assume that China is still communist in this alternate world. Now, granted, part of it is that no matter how different things are, somehow the nations and borders are exactly the same. So,
well, yeah, not
but
not all of them. Like the last episode, I think it was the last episode was a handful of monarchies controlled everything, and there were very little in the way of borders.
but San Francisco Bay, for whatever reason, is still English speaking. I just mean to say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
for some reason things always seem to turn out more or less the same, even if like the past is very different. But you shouldn't make the assumption about another country's government unless you actually looked into it.
Yeah, a thing that they start doing at some point and remains throughout the entire series is the fact that Canada is always just the opposite of whatever the U.S. is. Even when they go to like Amish world, Canada is still just uh, the inverse of the U.S.
Well, city slicking tech bro Canadians.
Oops, close that again. He says he wants to call awareness to the issue of men's oppression in this world. Um, they slide on election night, and he doesn't believe he has a snowball's chance in hell of actually being elected. So he's like, he begins with, what's the harm? But he wants to get others to be like, oh, there is a chance, or these are issues that we need to um, address. Which,
I like how he brought up Ross Perot.
um, you might have to just explain him.
Ross Perot was a prominent politician in the 90s. I don't know if the independent ticket is the name of his party or if he was running as an independent. I probably should have looked into this actually. Uh, but the point is, Russ Perot, in both the Clinton versus Bob Dole and the Clinton versus, did he run against HW? I forget. But he pulled double digit percentages in terms of the votes, which is pretty rare for a third party. He was just, I mean, he had more money than God, and that's kind of how he was able to fund these campaigns.
Mm.
But
In
he was amazing for a third party, like getting more than 10% of the vote.
before 1995, he was an independent. So during the 1992 election, but after 95, but before the Trade Center thing, he was part of the Reform Party.
Ah, okay. So yeah, it was independent ticket was just that he was an independent, and then the Reform Party came up. Got it.
Yeah.
And Rosper was also a recurring character in the All Dat skit Ear Boy, where they just made jokes about how he had a lot of money. This is not at all relevant to Sliders, other than Ross Perot was actually a pretty relevant cultural figure in the 90s, and it's kind of silly.
It's probably just because of how good he was doing politically, so it kind of makes sense. Um, so, Rembrandt, I believe I've cordoned off Rembrandt's into a single section due to the fact that I don't want to just keep flipping back and forth. So I'm just going to start his now. He was picked up by a passing woman when he was on the corner doing his singing routine. Um, she kind of rapes him in like a quid pro quo uh, situation. You do this for me, I'll get you a record deal, and we can work with that. Um,
He was weird about Rembrandt and women.
yeah. Um, where'd it go? Rembrandt is given a rose by her, or she leaves a rose for Rembrandt after he wakes up afterwards. And it's like, he's like, you sure know how to treat a man, which reminds me of a uh, statements I had heard that like sometimes the first time a guy gets a flower is on his deathbed or on his grave, and it's like men obviously like being romanced as well. Um, Different ones obviously in different ways, but that's just the nature of
Yeah.
humanity. Um, Cue Ball
Wait.
calls. Wait, you said wait.
Oh, I was going to say that I also think that it shows in the way that people are looking Quinn up and down, and it's just sort of like, oh wow, what a catch. And so we do see hints of young attractive men being treated as young attractive women. So, you know.
Yes. Um, so Cue Ball calls Rembrandt at the woman's house. We're not actually sure how long he's been there or the type of previous contact they've had thus far. We were questioning how Cue Ball got this number.
Hmm.
Um, but he did, and given that they're there for 6 weeks, maybe we don't have to think too hard about it. Um, Woman's ex-boyfriend comes uh, to the house and just barges in, kind of like Um, and this is a thing I think I get to later. He goes from angry to being fairly sad relatively quickly. Um, Another point in the episode, they talk about men having mood swings every 20 minutes or couple of minutes or something. Um, she obviously lied to Rembrandt about being a record promoter. He clarifies that this is a I want to say common scam. I'm not sure if scam's the right word, but a commonly known thing men in our world will say to pick up women. It's either record promoter or musical agent, or they can get a job in the acting field or something like that. Just general arts. Um,
Just kind of commenting on, I guess, assumptions happening that Rembrandt wouldn't need to be on guard about this, whereas we know, I mean, it came up with P. Diddy, but even before then, in the Me Too movement, there was already like an amount of people pointing out sexual exploitation of men in the entertainment industry. Now, granted, we could argue that Rembrandt didn't think he needed to be prepared for that regarding a woman, because in regard to the sexual exploitation of men in the entertainment industry, it's largely other men doing it. But I still think that that might be sort of a blind spot. And granted, I don't think they need to be aware of everything that's going on and everything that men face, but I'm just pointing out, yeah, this is a thing that men do get sexually exploited in the music industry, not just in this hypothetical world where men and women switch places.
yeah, obviously they can't be knowledgeable or input every aspect of life and issues that are faced, and go into the extreme level of nuance that's needed, because it would draw heavily away from the show and story they're trying to tell in favor of just being like a some type of alternate history documentary, and that's not what Sliders is, and it's not what it's trying to be either. Um, but so we're just that's in part like a degree why we're commenting on it. It's not a fault of per se of the show. It's just the nature of storytelling. Um, so he gets emotional and sad and hugs Rembrandt for being understanding. Um, he calls Rembrandt a boyfriend, which is a thing that I've always been mildly confused by. The confusion being that women in our world call each other girlfriend, and nobody thinks anything of it. There's no homosexual undertones there, but a guy were to call another guy boyfriend, it's all of a sudden weird. That it could be a similar thing in this world. Girls calling each other girlfriend could be a gay thing, but men calling them boyfriends is possibly just whatever. It's what guys do.
I think this also just kind of goes into the politics of sexual desirability here, where if a woman is saying something kind of flirty to another woman, it's just, oh, hey, this is like friendly and flattering. But if a man says something flirty to another man, because men are seen as gross and undesirable, that's gross and undesirable, and therefore,
Yeah,
like, I'm not saying. Well, basically, what I'm saying is, I don't think it's entirely unsexual in our world either. It's just that it's the acceptable kind of sexuality that we're not going to think too hard about.
mm, fair. Um, Rembrandt complains to the woman that he needs to be taken seriously. Doesn't want to just be a notch on her belt. Once says he wants her to be home if she loves him. She doesn't want to keep hearing about his needs and refuses to cooperate with getting his record because he's needy, and so he just is effectively thrown out, which is kind of what was being touted from the very beginning, that he's kind of just being used. Um, he goes to visit Arturo at the end. Towards the end, Kubo asks what happened to the woman, and Rembrandt tries to save face because his friends are also still from his world, so he's acting in a similar manner as he would in the Earth Prime. Um, he just says that she was trying to keep him tied down, and so he had to get out of there. But it's literally the inverse of what actually happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the show wants to give Rembrandt such a bad time with women. I mean, I guess it's because they don't want, though they will allow Quinn to sort of move around, they still want to keep him more or less at least plausibly in love with Wade, even if they're not consistent on that romance. And Arturo, he's kind of old, so they're just sort of like, hey, let's just give Rembrandt these zany sexual adventures, right? Like, he meets a woman in an end of the world party, but she's married and they're swingers, and also he's going to play Russian roulette, and or hey, he finds his old crush and he's married to her in this world, except actually she's terrible. It's weird. I mean, like, I know why they're picking on Rembrandt, but it's weird that they're picking on Rembrandt.
Yeah. Um, so that's the long and short of it for his story. He the I'm gonna scroll back a bit because then we get into the more complicated ones. This we're not even into my long section on gender politics. So, but whatever. So Arturo is flyering to become mayor in the mall. A woman insults him like directly to his face, and he responds with a misogynistic insult in turn. Uh, Immediately met by his campaign advisor, I think is a good enough title, that hostility doesn't win votes, which um, goes
This is
into.
before 2016.
I might have to.
I guess Trump is an example of hostility winning votes.
Ah. Um, which is a degree of flip, kind of flipping the script from our world. Or is it? I don't know. My brain's suddenly.
Women coming off as misandristic or otherwise like too bossy or mean is definitely an issue for women who want to get into politics.
Yeah. Um, I just mean like men being aggressive is still the go-to stereotype in this world.
Hmm. Yeah, that's another aspect of like, oh, hey, men can't control themselves, and if they ran things, we'd have all these wars. It's weird how selectively the script is flipped in this world, but I could go all day about that.
Yeah. I just want to bring it up as it seems relevant to the summary I'm doing. Um, yeah. So the guy, the advisor Eisenbach is like, need to kiss babies and shake hands, and Archer's like, you want me to kiss babies? And it's like, kind of like, yeah, basically. Look, there's one over there, and so Arturo chases after a guy in the mall, and is like, "Sir, I must kiss your child," and it's um, obviously played for laughs.
that scene in Sliders.
Absolutely wild.
I'm not actually saying that, but maybe I am. I don't know. From now on, we're gonna watch Sliders, and I'll tell you if there's a scene better than that one.
It is up there. Uh, uh, so this captures the public fancy that he's running for Congress. This is where they get explicitly to the they laughed at Ross Perot, and then Wade's response, they still do. Um, Arturo gives speeches and is showing off a newspaper headline that says that he's finally at 7% of the vote. Uh, and because of, even though it's a small number, the fact that he's getting headlines, Mayor Ross has agreed to a debate on his fully accepting the conditions that his campaign has set. Um, the game has mildly stopped working. Okay, there we go. I got a jellyfish now. The other thing I was trying to do just wasn't showing up, which is why I'm saying that. I've lost where I was in my notes because I'm clearly intelligent. Then there's an attack on Arturo's campaign headquarters just after that because they throw a brick through a window because he's, I don't know, being uppity and out of line. Um, a woman's voice calls calls the headquarters and gets Arturo and is like, next time it won't be, or next time it'll be a bomb, which leads us to question a previously mentioned thing that they previously established that there's no wars and there's no violence, or there's no violent crime in this world because women, but I'm not sure I would fully believe that due to just this alone occurring. I kind of think maybe that they're doing language games to make it be not the case, but I might get it more into that next week because
I'm gonna say in our world, people say that if women ruled the world, there'd be no wars, and are disregarding figures like Margaret Thatcher, where women did have positions of power and showed that they could be just as cutthroat as men. But yeah.
yeah. Um, After the bomb attack, he gets up. Again, we don't know how much time has passed, but he's his what is it called? Ratings have gone up to 20%. This could relate to the bomb by virtue of generally if a politician is or a person is attacked, people oftentimes sympathize with whoever was attacked, regardless of how egregious or evil they were prior, and how much disdain there was.
Hmm.
Um, Cuba talking to other people in the not pool, campaign office, other guys, and they say men have too much testosterone. Look at women; they only cycle once a month. Men cycle every 20 minutes. Many mood swings as I go through in an afternoon. I wouldn't want to be in charge of anything. Um, this just feels to me like a statement on one can, if you hyper focus in on a specific topic or issue and you want to maintain the status quo, you can probably fairly easily find any aspect to focus in on to say why the other, whatever, what or whoever the other is, doesn't deserve equal rights or equal consideration.
So I don't know what's going on in the 90s with this, but I will say that I don't know if this was a common sentiment, but it was something that definitely appeared in the news during the Democrat primaries before 2008, where a lot of women were expressing skepticism regarding women in power, and this also came up in 2016, like women against Hillary coming to power, and they were making stuff like, yeah, I wouldn't trust women because we're too emotional. And so that might be a call to that. I don't know if something like
Hmm.
that happened in the 90s, so I might be doing an anachronism, but I know that it definitely happened in the 2000s and 2010s. So they might just be trying to translate that one for one. And that's why they're like, men cycle testosterone so much more than women.
Mm, um,
Sorry about that.
that's fine. Um, so then immediately after that, cue ball is taken in by the mayor to like look at an attack ad they have on the professor, which is kind of just a terrible way to do it. Not just the fact that he's being taken in as a as tokenism. Hey, we've got a man who signed off on this, so it can't be bad. Even though we don't actually give them any actual power, but also the fact
When
that he's
I
Arturo's.
think it's if I might just chime in real quick, they did want input from Quinn. Quinn did not give it. That's not that I'm not saying that they would have given Quinn equal power and say. In fact, I think Quinn left because they weren't going to give him a fair shake. But to say that it was purely tokenism and not like conscientiousness is, it's not like there in the text. You can read that into the text, but I just want to highlight, yeah, maybe they did want Quinn's opinion. Quinn didn't give it.
That's fair.
Because there is an amount of privilege blindness, and I'll stop interrupting you.
Yeah, it's fine. There's things that I don't think of or didn't think of. It's fair to go, hey, wait a minute. Unless you're, being a jerk about it, but you haven't been. Um, so there, but so I also think it's just a bad idea to bring him in due to the fact that he's known to be Arturo's friend. Um, so it's just weird that they'd have him or even Wade weigh in on it because obviously these people are going to want to protect and side with their friend.
Hmm.
Does that seem reasonable or?
I don't know to what extent they know about their relationship with Futuro, to be honest.
Well, they all came in at the same time, and Wade said, think I can get you guys jobs." So I'm pretty sure she would be acting as a like a contact.
Did she
It's
say
never.
that within earshot of the women, though?
Wait, what? I missed.
Did she say that within earshot of the women, though? Like,
Oh,
would the women have heard her say that?
that she can get them jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, no, that was just said in the. It's not an apartment. Why am I blanking on every word that exists? Um, hotel room. But
Now, granted, if she was
how?
honest, she would have said, "Hey, check out my friend Oturo." But I guess we don't
Yeah,
have confirmation if she was honest.
yeah. But then the question is, how would she get them jobs if they don't? If she doesn't divulge that she and they are acquaintances? I guess they
Oh,
could
she
just.
definitely did it with Quinn.
Yeah. but the fact that these people don't exist elsewise, she'd have to be like the person vouching for them. And I guess this doesn't necessarily mean they know each other, but
Mm.
I don't know. I
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. Um, so they mention in the ad that Arturo can't provide his employment history for being a professor of cosmology and ontology at California University, and Q-Ball immediately goes to blaming Wade for knowing about his lack of credentials, but this is obviously a laughable statement that I don't think Quinn actually would have made were he a real person, because any reasonable political opposition would investigate any claims that their opposition makes. So um, they would have just gotten it
The
probably by
University of
checking the
California.
University of California and going, "Hey, do you have a guy who works here by the name of Maximilian Arturo?" And they'd go, "Who?" And that would be enough.
I was gonna say, does University of California even exist in this timeline? It doesn't exist in our timeline. But I am wondering. You're probably right. I think you're right. This is just more me thinking aloud. Is it possible that we might be framing this in our post sort of Google world that background checks are pretty easy to do? But
Yeah,
I mean, background checks did happen before, so
yeah, especially if you're trying to suggest you're the mayor and what you're saying your previous job was a notable position at a notable institution, and
mhm.
everybody's like, that seems unlikely, but maybe. Uh, I, I would find it negligent on the part of literally everybody in the campaign if they did not investigate this,
Yeah.
even pre Google. um, but so she says, "Have we forgotten the lessons of history?" And then gives stereotypes of men. Um, Trust children with future. Don't take a chance. Um, and then this causes Cue Ball to quit the campaign. Arturo has his own ad. Um, where they have. I'm gonna get to that later in the more explicit sexism section as well, but um, he says they've. Nobody's ever captured my essence so fully, like when I changed that brat's diaper. It's also obviously played for laughs, but it's entertaining in that he talks about how much he's indicating how good he is and insulting children at the same time. um,
Yeah, this is just Arturo.
yeah,
He feels like he's so much better than everyone.
yeah. Um, if I can get this last bit, there we go. Jesus, that was annoying. He's talking with Quinn after he quits, and he says that he feels like MLK must have felt on the march to Selma. Um, Everybody seems to. Oh, it's 1 o'clock. I've got to actually start wrapping up for the moment. Um,
Everyone seems to finish the
yeah,
thought, and then we'll continue this next week.
yeah. Sorry, I guess I got distracted. Everybody seems to want to compare themselves to being a as important as Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement is especially common amongst people who actually would have hated MLK during his lifetime and would have despised the civil rights movement.
This reminds me of something you said earlier that when people are attacked, no matter how despicable or hated they might have been before, people immediately become sympathetic. So, in that respect, while he didn't get shot, the brick through the window, it's sort of like, I can see how this happened. On that, I'm kind of curious if there was an MLK equivalent in this world, but that's a conversation for next week.
Yeah, might be a conversation for the alternate history section of.
Yeah. So,
So
sorry, it's gonna a bit of a shorter session this week. We'll continue with this world next week. You know,
and we
Silas got some physical therapy stuff going on, so
and we should be able to actually get through all of it next week with our normal amount of time, which is multiple hours. But it's there's a lot in this episode. So we'll finish
yep,
the
yep.
summary, and then we will also, what's the other thing? Do the actual political analysis that I have intended, and then the alternate history.
Bye bye.
And I will finish up my jellyfish because I was right next to being done. Back, and then I will. So have fun, everybody. Hope to catch you next time. Now I just have to figure out how to stop it again.